Galax, the visuals are not new. I've had them for a while. And also I can't remember if my webcam is where it normally is. Because I borrowed my webcam for the Ozone party stream the other day, or last week. But what's up? How is everyone doing? What's up, Bungie? Storm? Oh yeah, Storm, by the way. Wait 1 second. Storm, I believe, I just poked myself in the eye with these, but I believe these are yours, my dude. Wait, no. These are the wrong ones. No, I just put... Oh, shit. Where are they? Anyway, yeah, they're definitely not yours, but anyway, that's so funny, because whatever. Anyway, the Gavin came by today and dropped off the webcam, Babs, and, yeah, he came by to drop off the webcam and and your glasses. You left your glasses at, his place. But so I have them now. So next time I see you, I will give you your sunglasses. I was also considering recording this stream because maybe gotta try to... Bungie! Thank you for the sub, man. Tier 1. Sub for 8 months. Currently on a 7-month streak. Big glasses moment. Yeah, pretty embarrassing, honestly. I believe these are yours. Oh, no, they're actually not at all. But yeah, okay. So, I'm going to try and record this. I hope my computer doesn't crash. But maybe I'll edit this for a YouTube video or something later. To do these, to do the thing, you know, for more content. But anyway, so for those who are watching, welcome to the Ozone production stream, or walkthrough stream. Do these for every self-release, every new track. Well, no self-release. This is with Ocean's Dark. Yeah. So, let's get into it. I went disc golfing instead of kind of going over the project files and picking out nice bits and pieces to go over. But so we're gonna kind of wing it this time around. I should probably exit out of Steam so I don't get friends and get rid of Discord too. Okay, so Brawl for the win, exactly. Yeah, it was actually a really nice day today too in Michigan. It was like 72, little breeze going on. You know, it was nice and sunny and nice switch up from the shitty rain we've been having for quite a while. Last like week and a half, it's just been raining and cloudy. Bungie, thank you again on the release, man. I'm really proud of this song. Hope it's hitting people in the feels because that's I don't know, that's this song kind of came together quick actually, but it's definitely a favorite, one of my favorites that I was kind of waiting quite a while to, you know, decide when to release. Enjoyed it when you weren't driving all day for work. Okay, so this track is kind of old. And by old, I mean it was originally started in late 2019, I think. You guys might have to bear with me because there is this weird serum glitch that every time if I open up an old project file, like the patch will come up and it will sound fine. But then if I try to save the old project file as a newer version, it's almost like the serum patch slightly defaults. It's really weird. But anyway. Ozone is, let's see, what do we got here? So, fun fact about this track was that the initial inspiration behind it was Atlas's track Bloodwork. He released some of I think he released like a remix pack or a MIDI pack or something like that of this track, or of his song, and at the moment I wasn't too inspired about much in terms of like, you know, I hadn't written anything in a little bit, but I downloaded his stems and took the MIDI and reworked it, basically. It doesn't sound anything like his track or his progression, but the MIDI and that song helped inspire me to make this. So if you see these Bloodwork 120 you know, clips on there, just know that I'm that's the disclaimer. But yeah, here, cool. This is the first version of it. I'll just play through the track, what it originally sounded like in the first version. So obviously same melody and whatever. But in this version's only like 1:45. In the first version, I just went straight into this hook bit. And that hi-hat is barely audible. So yeah, as you can hear on this first version, it's like kind of muddy, not very loud. Kick still sounds pretty good. Let's see. A lot of the times when I'm working on stuff, or like specifically with like a kick drum or whatever, I'll have different layers. So this is like the bottom half of the kick. It's just like a nice subby, pretty clean version of it. The top is just like a click. This must have been, I must have just, because these are these are like stemmed out a little bit, I think. But just some EQing on this to like kind of narrow it a bit, but then also just have it sound nice when it's on top of this. And the thing in the Ozone track is that the kick has a little bit of a flutter in the sub near the end, and that was just in the sample that I found that I decided to roll with on the track. And then in the other final layer, there's like a wet version of the kick drum that's almost like a really short controlled reverb on the kick. And this like rubber thing is just it's a Vengeance kick, but it's in reverse, and I just pitched it accordingly, and yeah, you know, had it at the end of every 2 bars or something like that. So it's kind of got that, like, you know, low fluttery bit. Let's see what else. For this, I guess I could show for the wet side of the kick drum, just like some Valhalla reverb with a really short pre-delay, short decay. The LFO tool is creating a sidechain on the reverb, so it's kind of, so the reverb is hitting after the initial hit on the kick. See how there's that like delay? So like the sub, so the main layers will hit, and then the reverb will come afterwards. So nothing's clashing in the low end, even though this kick is, you know, got a lot of like low frequency material, low end frequency material. That's it for the kick. I don't think, is there a clap in this version? There is. So I have already freezed and flattened this clap, but I've gone over how I make my claps and stuff like that in other project files. But basically what I'll do is I'll have, like, same with the kick drum, a low, mid, and a high version. I will have them in MIDI, and I'll adjust the timings on each one, so they're like, you know, maybe one starts a little before the other or whatever, just whatever sounds better. And then I'll process them individually, maybe like distort one layer and then keep one layer clean, put like pitch one up, you know, make one really wide and pitch it up or pitch it down, you know, something like that. It's just, it's all to taste. It's all a little bit of like trial and error experimentation to just, you know, trusting your ears and what sounds good at the end of the day. But for these, I wanted these drums in this track to hit hard, but also kind of, hey, what's up, Ash? How's it going? Welcome to the the gang's all here. But yeah, how's it going, man? But so with the drums and the atmosphere that I wanted to, or sorry, with the drums in this track, I wanted them to be, you know, in your face and hit, but still help complement the wavy atmosphere that the track has. Oh, nice, yeah, that does work. Hell yeah. Where was I going? I just zoned out. Yeah, so in a lot of other house tunes like this melodic techno stuff, I love the genre, but I feel like so many times when I listen to the track, the drums just won't hit that hard. They'll have them like really kind of just in the background, like a slight little thud, and I don't know if that's just the style or whatever, but every time I listen to a track like that, I'm like, man, if this kick was like, you know, right here and not way over there, this would just be, you know, better in my opinion. So that's what I tried. I implemented, that was like my taste. I implemented that into this track. So nothing crazy with the kick and the clap, just some like simple layering and stuff like that, making sure things are in phase. There's this little percussion loop right here that I use. Actually, you know what, I just realized maybe I should switch to a louder version. I have a later version of this track, which I was like, so this is the first version, and then I have the other project files for like 3 and 5. You know, there's other variations in between that one and this one, but this is fine, I guess. But I also would pick apart like different loops and stuff like that, different percussive stuff, pitch them down. I really like to use the warp function in Ableton and switch it to tones. And if you turn the grain size really far down and mess with the pitch, either like really, really low or really, really high, you can get these weird kind of like fractal. So like this is down 28, this one's down 20 with the grain size. Even just like adjusting the grain size between the hits can create some like cool different things. That's a nice one right there. But yeah, just like little variations in that. So like you kind of will build a 4-bar pattern, and then for the next, you know, 8 bars or whatever, you'll do a slight variation on that, and then now you have an 8-bar pattern, and then so you can do, you know, variations on that. And it's all about, especially with this like glitchy atmosphere stuff, it's all just trial and error. Like I don't know, like, oh, I want it to sound like this. Well, I kind of know how to do that, so I'll throw, you know, these colors or this type of paint at the wall and see, you know, see what happens that way. It's not like I'm sweating, you know, operator or FM8 to like get any sounds like this. It's a lot of it is like sample stretching and looping and pitching things up and down to extreme points. The hi-hats in this track were kind of a lot of different loops chopped up and pitched down and pitched, you know, like I've got these two are both far on the left and the right. And these are just like little glitchy loops that I found either on Splice or like Loop Masters or whatever. But I'll cut bits and pieces of them out so they're not like as obnoxious, as a lot of the time they'll try and a lot of these loops will like have just a whole string of a bunch of stuff in like one little 4-bar thing, and so I'll try to like simplify it and cut some things out. Let's see what else. And then this is just a little hi-hat loop kind of chopped up with some variation here and there. There's like a much stronger hit, and then there's kind of like a laxed hit. With this track I wanted the drums to like, you know, it still obviously sounds very electronic, but I wanted them to have like a really you know, more human feel to them, where there's like minor errors and whatever else in there. But nothing too crazy with the hi-hats. A lot of the hi-hat stuff is just like finding the right sample, honestly. If you're like, a production reality check is what I like to call them. If you find yourself EQing a hi-hat for more than at all, you should probably just find a different sample. Because, you know, your time is spent better. Your time is better spent elsewhere than like sweating the EQ on one hi-hat. Just get another sample, man. It's yeah. So yeah, the hi-hats have a lot of different layers, and together they all sound like this. I don't think there even is. Yeah, there's no bus processing on them at all right now. Just a simple sidechain. You know, it's all about, like I said, finding the right sample and in the future versions, or in the later versions of the track, I do dial in a couple things or whatever, but in the initial production stage where I'm just trying to get the idea down, you always want to try to just, you know, go with the path of least resistance, and yeah, just swap out the sample if it's not working, or even if the idea isn't working, then scrap the idea and, you know, work that way. This pad is part of, I do this a lot. I will find a cool loop. Let's see, let's drag this out and listen to what it sounds like originally. Alright, actually, let me turn off all the processing. So yeah, originally, very dark, super muddy, actually has quite a bit of fluttery, weird sub to it, and this effects chain is just cleaning that up. And the LFO tool is making it duck with the, you know, sidechain. Some imaging to make things way more wider after narrowing it. That was a bit of a... These things right here are kind of redundant. Some exciter, imager, EQ. I don't have that version anymore. Okay, so let's see. I mean, that, and then what I did was found the pad sample, loop a small section of it, and then I just have that copy and pasted over the entire track. And I'll have to, like, you know, maybe drag the fades a bit here and there, or kind of adjust the clip size. It's not exactly the same every single one, but it does start to sound like it's a loop, you know? Atmosphere, exactly. Atmosphere. We can throw the kick underneath that, and the sub, I don't really know. I think with this track there was a weird thing in which I had a well, it says MP pad sub. This is an old... I'm trying to remember what I did. I honestly think that I might have taken the sub out of this patch, because originally when I showed it in this version, you know, the full clip, it had a lot of sub material, but then with the processing I got rid of all that. I think what I might have done was cut the sub out and layer it, like here, so you can hear the sub pattern. You know what I mean? So there's kind of like a swing to the sub that follows the pad, and then just throwing the kick underneath it. That's just like a really, I mean, that, at first I thought that was too simple, but then that ended up becoming the first drop, you know, with like some white noise and whatever else. But that was originally like, oh yeah, this is the track. And then I, you know, will find a way to layer the synths or whatever over the top of it. So in the old version of Ozone, it originally sounded like this, the second half. Which is it's a nice chord progression, but I didn't want to overcomplicate it, because I already had like this kind of melodic 16 bar section, and when I tried to put that over the drop, it just sounded too messy. So instead, what ended up happening was, this is how that weird hook sound came about. And it was one of those instances where I had the drop made, but you know, I knew it needed like a top end. Like, this track has a lot of, it's got a lot of atmosphere, and it's really, really dark, but there needs to be something else occupying the higher frequencies, you know, to like something to, you know, the melody can get stuck in your head, but during the drop there also needs to be like a hook, I guess, you know, a hook. So what I did was, we used only the freshest and you know, organic Vengeance Essential Loops, and we found this one, which sounded pretty good. Let me disable everything on there and just show you what it's. Oh shit. Okay, I'll delete the crystallizer just so that I know not to have it enabled. Okay, so the original loop, when I was like just listening to the drop and played this, let's see if I loop it. Oh wait, right here. So when I was scrolling through the Vengeance samples, I heard that loop over the... I do this all the time when I'm working on stuff. I will... I'll have the beat playing, and then if I'm looking for another layer, I'll just scroll through samples. But while I was doing that, I came across this, and immediately I kind of heard... I mean, yeah, I heard the hook, which became Ozone's hook. So with some processing and honestly just a lot of like chopping the sample up, turn these on. And then I have this echo erosion delay thing that this is being sent into. And then this erosion gets like turned on and off sometimes throughout the track. I believe right before the second drop, it's almost like a redux sound gets turned on to this hook. But yeah, it's just Ableton's erosion. And then, so once I had that bit right here, I then kind of optimized it further into the hook that the track that made to the final version. Good old wow filter. It's probably my favorite plugin, second favorite plugin maybe. And just some imaging. Actually, just cutting out the super low fluttery stuff on the end. Or in the sub, and then a little bit of reverb. There is also, I'll move on, I think the last thing in this version of the track is that there's this little texture. It's like a noise floor that happens throughout the entire drop. I like to throw these in all of my songs, but it's just like this little scraping noise thing. And how I usually find out if these sound good or like when to use them or not is I'll just solo the kick. And I think in the final version, this yellow track got even more compressed and like a bit quieter too. But you know, I'll just give you the with and without. I'll include the sub. What's up, Pixeler? But yeah, so it's just like that little like atmosphere. It's all the little tiny bits and pieces that are just adding more of like a human feel to the, you know, a very electronic sounding drum kit. Yeah, so let's move on to, one second, let me switch the camera to my giant head and we will go over to the other version. Let's see, version 3 saw, okay, yeah, here we go. So in version 3 of the track, what did I do? I rearranged the structure a bit. I gave it more of I gave it a proper intro, you know, much more defined sections as opposed to just the demo. Justin in the users list, like Fetish Justin, or could have been. I know some of my friends are pestering me for League in a couple hours though. Okay. So in this version, in the third version, I still start with the intro. Synth intro. And actually, real quick, I need to find the samples for this project. And there's a little bit of mixing on this one. I have this camel fat on pretty much all of my projects, which I just... It's a little clipping, but... a lot of the times what I'll do, if I want to hear like a quick master or what my song would sound like louder, I'll get camel fat, I'll put the mix to 50%, and then I'll turn the compressor on like maybe anywhere from 2 to 5, minus 2 to 5, and it gets shit loud. Basically loud enough to where you can start to hear like, oh, this needs to be way quieter or whatever. Like it's a really good indicator for me as to what my current mix will sound like when I smash it and you know, do the mastering bit. But yeah. So in this version, I thought it was a good idea to really distort the saw bass layer, or saw chord layer, which was not a good decision. Didn't make it to the final version. The serum lead got dialed in a little bit more. Very nice, very nice. Oh yeah, and then the classic OTT enable after your reverb. Sounds good. So then, yeah, in this version I still don't have an intro. This becomes, you know, the first break. Drums and everything are sounding like a lot cleaner. I like to use the Ableton drum bus every now and then. Native Instruments Transient Master is nice. I shortened the kick drum a bit. Where is it? Oh, here it is. And then, what is this? Let me see this. Is this? Oh, I see. So I did even further processing on the, on like the wet kick layer, basically. Let's see, is there 2 layers to this? No, there's only 1. Okay, so it's just an auto filter, some Valhalla reverb, the LFO is making a side chain, and some saturation to make it loud, and probably some EQ to clean it up. Oh, nice. That's interesting. A little bit of vocoder. Man, dude, I really... 3 years ago, I really really sweated the sound design. I honestly don't sweat it as this much anymore. I might in some instances, but maybe it's because like I have sampled a lot of my older productions, so I don't have to go through this intense of a you know, effect layering and sound design stuff. But yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is like, this kick layer is obviously a very wide sound, and this kick, or the main kick, is not a wide sound. It's really, really narrow. So I wanted to have the discrepancy between stereo and mono, so I could mess around with this without affecting that, and still have like the, you know, control over the 2 bits. The clap in this track, with the progression, changes a little bit. It doesn't just immediately come in on the you know, 2 and 4 like it traditionally does in a track like this. We'll do, let's see, what is it? 22 bars. That's strange. Oh yeah, what is that sound? Okay, yeah. That was another sound I wanted to go over with this. Just a little, just a vengeance dubstep sound effect, one shot. But it sounded good in the context, you know, so whatever. Actually, I don't think that I've sampled too much from Ozone. I need to do that. These kicks and claps are really good. For the clap, what do I do? Okay, yeah. So I've talked about this in other production walkthroughs and stuff, but one thing that I do a lot is I will listen to a track just in stereo, and I can play that right now. And then I'll listen to it only in mono. And what you want to have happen is you want to have, like, for a really, really good, clean, transparent mix that you can get super loud, or that you can make super loud, you want to be able to have, like, the discrepancy between the 2, but then you also, like, when you fold everything to mono, you still want it to sound, you know, as much as you want it to sound just the same as it would in stereo as it does in mono. If you've got that, then that means, like, everything's in phase and you can make things loud and it's gonna sound good. And also, in some instances, you want to contain certain frequencies only to the stereo or a mono signal. Like, for instance, with this clap, it's a really wide, kind of like flappy sounding clap. But most of that flap, most of the clap, flap, whatever, is in the stereo image. And if I pull up this, you can see that. But it still sounds good in mono. In fact, when I play it with the kick, you know what I mean? We like really don't lose much at all. What's up, Babs? How's it going? Clap, flap. But yeah, I definitely now this is starting to come back to me. I definitely spent a lot of time EQing this kick and clap to make it as crispy as possible. Let's see, what do we have on here? This is an old Waves plugin. I don't think I use anymore. Newfangled Saturate, really good plugin. Saturator, Ableton, EQ. A lot of the time what I'll do is I will saturate something and like kind of overdrive it with a saturator, and then I will put an EQ after the saturation and kind of do some cuts to like kind of remove that. It's like, it's almost like you're cleaning up the saturation after you push it a little too far. I think it sounds pretty good. And I do that like on my kick drums and claps and like mostly like the more core percussion in a track. I also have this really simple drums, Ableton default drums kick compressor, drums snare compressor. Just sending the clap and the drum and the kick to that, and it's a nice little parallel layer that I can solo. It adds loudness, and it also helps add more punch in the middle to the track, because specifically for these two core elements, because like I was saying, this is really there's a lot of atmosphere in this track, a lot of things floating around the stereo spectrum. So I really took extra care to make sure that the kick and the clap were always hitting, and like nothing was getting in the way of those. And that is also reflected in a lot of like the EQ decisions I made when it came to the hi-hats, when it came to like other random effects in the track. This main synth hook, which for whatever reason I have disabled. Oh yeah, it's because it's not being played in the first drop. Oh yeah. And then in this variation, I was still trying to figure out what the I was trying to do something different than what I did in the first drop, but you know, the old saying is, if it's not broken, then don't fix it. So I ended up copying and pasting the same progression from this in the first from the first one into the second drop, or right before the second drop. But I really love this higher lead. That is love. I love that sound. But I use that as like, you know, a higher counter melody to the chord progression. And for a lot of this, like the reverby effect that you hear, like at the end when things get washed out, a lot of it is, I believe it is from just having a longer release time on the main synth. I think there's a little bit of serum reverb on this. Yeah, there is. Actually, there's quite a bit. Well, then there you have it. That's the answer to that. Okay, and then I think, what else? Oh yeah, slight variation on the second drop that didn't make it into the final cut. I just had this like pre-drop way too long. Actually, you know what? That might be the that might be the wait. Oh, I remember. Okay, it's the same length, but I keep it interesting by filtering this synth hook. I have it a bit more buried in the final version, and then it like filters out into its, you know, the full frequency spectrum, and then goes into this. But this is still not the final mix. This is still not the final iteration of this track. I'm trying to think of what else. There were a couple. The hi-hats are about the same. Oh, I remember. This will be in the. All right, 1 second. Big face cam, real quick, while I open up the next one. I believe this will be the final mix. It's V3. All right, I'm pretty sure this is it. All right, it's loading. Lush, spooky, all that jazz. Yeah. Is there anything I'm missing in these? I feel like I am a bit scatterbrained since I admittedly went disc golfing instead of taking notes and making a more formal presentation for you guys on this breakdown. But is there anything that I'm missing that you would be interested to hear, or have something explained a little bit more, or a specific sound in the track that I haven't covered yet? There is one that I'm thinking of that didn't make it in until like a much later version. Okay, yeah, the Y. Nice, I can do that. Okay, and I can definitely do that, especially now that we're on like the final version. I'm almost positive this is the final version. Okay, so in this version, yeah, I'll explain the beat boops, Mason. Don't worry, I will explain the beat boops. Okay, so in this final version then, so I had the track laid out, or I made the, now it's got a proper intro, you know, the one that you hear in the final version. It has the breakdown, little pre-drop thing, and then the drop. Now when I listened back to the track, and I was thinking, okay, this song it's got a nice atmosphere, and I like how it flows. It's a very minimal song, but I think it needs a little bit more of a hand to hold through specifically the first section of the track, where I was thinking about, you know, people who are just discovering my music, or, you know, are just listening for the first time, might need something else to latch onto to get through the rest of the track, because this song does have like a story that is told, you know. This song is not like an instant gratification track. I feel like there's a clear discrepancy between music nowadays that's like, okay, this song you need to listen to the whole 6 minutes to get the idea, and then another song you can be like, oh yeah, you know, just skip to, you know, 25 seconds and there's the funny part, like, you know, cool, man. All right. It, you know, to each their own or whatever, but like I knew that this track, not to get snobby or whatever, I knew that this track needed a little bit more of that attention grabbing, like hand holding a little bit. I guess, if that makes any sense at all. So what I did was I was like, okay, well, why don't I go back and try to make some more cool, like atmospheric swells and waves and stuff like that. And so that's where that sound, kind of like the horn, comes in. Let me just try and find it real quick wherever I... Okay, yeah, right here. So I just took, I'm sure I did this. I duplicated the main chord synth that's playing during the breakdowns. I duplicated it, and then I had kind of just tried to make my own 4-bar sections to go throughout the, you know, drop. And then this, I know it needed to be ducked and sidechained. One thing I really, really like to do, this is like a sound design trick, I would suppose, is the old Ableton frequency shifter. I don't like the new one. It's too complicated. They added too much new shit to it. This is perfect. There's like 6 knobs on this thing, and so all you need. It's super easy. But what I do is I love doing this on like pads, and sometimes I'll even do this on like snare hits or whatever. Like if you have a kind of like a big snare with reverb, like a Prada snare, like pitch the noise at the end up, and or like, you know, kind of, it's almost like what do they do? It's almost like when you pluck a guitar string and the sound rings out, but then you change the tuning knob. You can do stuff like that to your synths with the frequency shifter, and that's what I do right here with this synth hit. Same chord as what was originally playing, 4 bars earlier, but now it sounds like, oh shit, this sounds like, you know, much more interesting. It's more dark, broody feeling to it. But it's only played once every 16 bars. That's the other important part. And then for here on the lead, where is it? This lead that plays. This is the same. It might be a bit more washed out. And the reverb's up. Oh yeah, yeah. And this. Oh no, the filters. Oh, that's why the hyper unison is cranked on this sound. And the thing with these like drop synths or like with the synths, I typically don't use a whole lot of EQ on synths. Obviously, like, you know, sometimes you gotta cut the sub out or whatever. But a lot of the time, I will, if I do use an EQ, it's to control the stereo image. It's not so much that I'm cutting like certain frequencies, because what I will do is I'll try to just get everything, you know, like let's say I have the sound in my head. I want, by the time I'm done working in Serum, I want it to sound like 90% of the way there. And then if you put the post-processing afterwards, then that's kind of like, you know, that's just extra. And that way it's I think it's better to try to get as close to what you want in Serum versus you know, versus you know, the endless chain of post-processing stuff. Galax, I would like to put it on YouTube. I think what I will do is I'll have to go through. I am recording right now. I hope it's gonna work. I've never tried recording like live out of OBS while I'm streaming, so hopefully my computer doesn't break. But it seems like the stream's going pretty well. Wow. Yeah, Galax, I think what I'll do is I'll make a little edit of this, kind of chop out some of my ramblings, and I'll throw it on my YouTube channel. Yeah, and also if you want, I do leave the VODs up for like 2 weeks or something on my Twitch too. So, yeah, I definitely want to try to push more content. So I will, you know, I'll edit it and throw it on my YouTube too. But okay, so let's see. Back with this. It's kind of hard to explain some of these like mixing decisions or like arrangement decisions, because I feel like a lot of that just comes down to an individual's tastes, and you hear this but they hear that type of thing. I just noticed that for this one shot that I use, I do a little bit of panning, I think. Oh no, that's just in the sound itself. Okay, well then I just echo, OTT, fab filter, smash the crap out of it. Yeah. The main reason I'm using the limiter and the OTT on this is because I want it to sound kind of like an alarm, and I want it to cut through everything else. Let's see. Okay, what else? Okay, I also, another thing to add some variation, or I think it might have been in the first version, or second or third version, but I had this like kind of dusty hi-hat downbeat. And I remember this was a complicated, this one took me a while to get sounding the way I wanted it to, but a lot of it was like just starting off with a sample that's, you know, 80% of the way there, and then maybe layering other bits and pieces of other samples that help complement, and then sculpting all of those together. Ozone dubstep remix when? I don't know. I feel like a garage beat version of Ozone would be kind of cool. No rhythm version of Ozone. That would be sacrilegious. The thing. Okay, here's another mix thing that I can explain. With the hi-hats, a lot of the times I'll do this where you have one pan hard right, one pan hard left, and then you adjust the. Ableton has this thing. It's a delay function. It's on the bottom right corner of the screen. I don't know. Maybe you might have missed it or not known it was there. But if you take the exact same signal and you pan one version left and one version right, and you put a slight delay on either the left or the right side. It's called a Haas effect, and that's what's making this sound really, really wide. See, it's like nice and spaced out. But then also, if I put in mono, it sounds fine. It sounds the same. Another thing with this track, about how, I think Galax was asking about how, explain the why behind stuff. One of the big tricks to making this song, after I had made the arrangement, was figuring out what was going to be in the focal point and then what was going to be off to the sides. And that's where a lot of like mid-side EQing comes in. Let's see, where's a good example of that? This sound. So I went ahead and further processed the main sound, or the main pad in the background. I use a lot of saturation on a lot of my different sounds, and saturation is a good way to make things sound loud, and then you can turn down the output volume and it will be the same volume that it previously was, but sound significantly louder. Or not significantly, but like noticeably louder, because you're adding more harmonics to the original signal. Yeah, with this pad sound, even though it's a really, really wide sound, or you would think it's a really wide sound, in the context of Ozone and the rest of the track, it's actually narrow. It's really narrow. And like, if you look in the spectrum, it's like, it's still got its width, but it's still pretty, you know, in phase. It's still pretty mono compared to a lot of the other things in the track that are like super wide. But a lot of the times with mixing, when you have busy tracks like this, and this can apply to any genre that you have, like specific, like drum and bass or dubstep, when you have a lot going on and you want to have space for all of these things that are going on, your job gets a whole lot easier when you can make that decision. Like, okay, do I want this on the sides or in the center? On the sides or in the center? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And then, you know, it's like, okay, on the sides or in the center, I'll narrow the sound or I'll make it wider. You can't have everything be like front and center super wide. That's called rhythm, and it always sounds bad. So don't do that. But like with like, you know, with like tasteful dubstep or whatever, like a lot of the time they, you know, things will be panned. Maybe you'll have one effect that hits left, one effect that hits right. It's all about creating those like little variations and stuff like that, and that's what kind of helps bring life to a mix. It's what helps bring life to a track also, to add those little like variations and whatnot. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. What else can I talk about with Ozone? Okay, here's actually a good example that I can discuss. So we have these like little bass fills, which originally I made by just stretching audio samples and, you know, getting lucky, basically. Just messing around with that tones warp function and pitching things down or up really loud. Pitching things down or up a lot in terms of its pitch. So here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about when it comes to like deciding whether things should be like really centered or really wide. So when I'm listening to Ozone in this track, this main bass pad, or not the main bass pad, but just the main pad in general. This sound, I'll just loop this section right here. This sound is occupying a lot of like the low frequency range, specifically around 123 hertz. So in the kick drum, wherever that is, it's around 190. I will do like, I'll kind of carve out spaces, how can I explain this? It's like if this sound, if this this main bass pad is occupying 123 hertz or whatever, what I'll do then is like I will try to not have anything else be that loud occupying that space, if that makes any sense. So and I can use, like, I'll either just turn things down or I'll like EQ something out. Like for these bass fills or whatever, I wanted these sounds, let's see, like they sound, they're front and center, but they're not taking up too much of the stereo width. I've originally had them really, really wide, but if you listen to the track, there's like that fluttery sound effects going on also at the same time. So what I do is just mid-side EQ, cut the low mids out. That's it. Carving room to avoid clashing. Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I'll carve room out of the side image to so that just kind of keeping it in mind and always listening to things in context. It is very, very important, especially in a track like this with a lot of atmosphere, to listen to things in context, because if I will sit here and EQ, you know, I could sit here and EQ this kick soloed for an hour and like try to get it to sound, you know, the way I want it to or whatever. But it is a totally different story to hear this kick in the context of everything else. So whenever I'm like mentoring students or doing a lesson or something like that, or working with clients or whatever, I always try not to, a big production tip is to try not to solo your main elements and only listen to them soloed, because one, that's a really good way to get stuck in the 8-bar loop. Two, sometimes when you do that, you can just like, I mean, for better or worse, you can make something that sounds totally different, and then when you unsolo it, it won't fit in the context that you originally had. So it's you know, it's like, yeah, just don't solo your key elements and always try to keep and remember what the context of the broader picture is for the track. I guess another quirky songwriting decision that I decided to do was have for the first 32 bars of the drop, I only have the clap appear on the 4 of the second half. It just sounded good. Oh, okay, this might be one of the last things I talk about because I'm starting to run out of ideas of what to talk about. But one thing, then this is a lesson in listening to your tracks on different references. Like listen to it on in your car, on your AirPods, on mom's kitchen radio, all those different things. Because when you listen to your tracks on those different mediums, different problems will, or different issues in your mix will reveal itself pretty blatantly, for better or worse, a lot of the times worse. So one thing that I did, which I don't think I had this in, no, I did have it in the first drop, but it must be quieter. Okay, it's much more dynamic in the second one. Okay, so in the first section in which the chords are played, I let the synths kind of, like the synths, the left and the right hand piano melodies, I let those, you know, steal the show, I guess. And then what I decided to do, you know, kind of like coming from my classical music background, is I have the sine layer slowly creep up in the background. It's really, really, really subtle. But this medium range sine bass thing, which is occupying, yeah, just right before the sub frequency. So 100 and less is going to be like your sub frequencies, but right before that is where this little, it's literally just a sine wave bell sound comes in. This really helps add a nice little kind of like, I don't know, oomph to the chords that are being played, because these chords are really wide and dancing around, but this sine layer is like kind of right in the middle. and the envelope on the attack and release of the sine layer matches the chords. And then the same thing happens here. And I'm almost positive I added, yep, okay. So in the first drop, there's no independent sub on the chord progression. All you're hearing is just, you know, the lowest fundamental of the chord that's being played on the left hand in Serum. But then on the pad sub on this, in the second drop, I add this like dedicated sub bass. And I'm automating it with a gain function because I wanted to emulate like an orchestra playing, you know what I mean? Like as if there was a guy on like the upright bass, you know, the bass note that he's playing isn't always going to be, you know, the same volume or whatever. And since this is like a very, I don't know, expressive section of the track, I wanted to have automation and like, you know, some movement in the amplitude of the sound to reflect those changes in mood and whatever else. So this is introduced in the last section, only for this section, to kind of like really bring it home and really add emphasis to the final climax, basically, of the track. Is I've always viewed it, here's like a insight into me and what I think about this song. I've always viewed the climax of this track in the last bridge that happens. It's not in the last drop. It's in this last 10 bars right before the pre-drop of the second song, or of the last drop, the second drop. Like, kind of like this whole part up here, up until this bridge, is like, okay, you're coming home, and now you're here with everything. And then now this is like, okay, now we're leaving. Like, we're exiting. Yeah, we're leaving. Now we're, you know, vacation's over, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, and then everything kind of just, it's almost like you're, you know, walking away from a fond memory or something. I don't know. I'm trying to find introspective words to describe the meanings of this song. Yeah, but yeah. What else? I mean, I think that's really about it, honestly. I'm starting to trying to think if I did any interesting. Here's the example how I told you that I automate the erosion sound. So in little parts, like in fills on the track, it's like, let's see, right here, right before the track, or right before the drop, I send this to that erosion echo reverb. That's funny. Maybe another Mungus night soon. That'd be fun. Or Counter-Strike, or League of Legends. No League of Legends. Or Halo. We still have to play Halo. But yeah, this hook was like further refined. OTT I use sparingly, but a lot of the time I feel like when you double it, it sounds better than just using it single. But OTT is good for making things sound a little brighter. Don't put it on your master. That's my. If you take one thing out of this production video, don't put your OTT on the master. But yeah, that's Ozone, I guess. I mean, these production breakdowns usually don't take too long, but I feel like I covered pretty much everything. A little over an hour. Is there anything else that that you guys would like me to talk about or go into in depth a little bit more? I'd be more than happy to do so. But like a specific sound or a specific hit. I know Galax was asking about kind of the why behind the mix decisions, and the why comes from ear training. Honestly, it comes from a lot of trial and error and knowing your toolkit and knowing what tools will fix the problem at hand, I suppose. It's tricky, as a lot of it is trial and error, but honestly, just the more you do it, the better you get at it, and that goes for pretty much most things, right? At least that's what they say. But cool. Oh, what is this? Oh yeah, that's the wub wub right before the drop. How did I make that? I reversed the main kick drum, put a little bit of reverb on it, and used the. I like to use this sometimes. It depends on the sound. Sometimes you can go overboard pretty easily with it, but just using one singular band on Ozone's imager and turn the stereo eyes on and throwing that up, that can create some cool stuff. Yeah, knocking on your door. Yeah, it's kind of like I guess I don't know if this is hindsight or whatever, but I'm thinking of when this song to me is like kind of like a not like a dream, but like when I listen to this song, I think of like late summer evening kind of mentality vibe. I don't know. FBI open up, yeah. Oh, that meme never gets old. But yeah, kind of like this is like the wake up, like you're waking up moment. The boom 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 right before you go back into the, I don't know, dream state is cheesy, but like back into the shit, you know what I mean? Back into the dream. Back into the music, I guess. And then what I did later was filter or put a limiter on it because I really smashed it with the saturator, and then I rendered it, and then this goes back to what I was talking about earlier with how everything needs to have its own place in the mix. I then did use a mid-side EQ to kind of mess with things. I didn't actually cut any of the side image out, but I did boost the mid input to kind of have it cut through more in the center. Boosted around 800 hertz. Typically for like plucky bass sounds, around 800 hertz is usually a good starting point to have that type of sound cut through better on smaller speakers. I learned that in school, and it's helped me a lot. And then I also cut out around 100 where that main synth pad comes in, because the synth pad that you hear throughout the track and this sound were clashing when they originally were played at the same time. And then also in this, so this is the original version. Then in the rendered version, where I dial things in even a bit more, I add a little bit of pan left and right, you know. Before I hopped off, I wanted to check to see what the cool sound was. That is a cool sound. All right, cool, everyone. I guess. Oh yeah. Last thing also is that this sounds. You always want your mix to sound as good as your master. You know what I mean? Don't leave anything up to the mastering engineer to make your song sound better. You want your song to sound done before you put anything on your master. I joke about this a lot in my other streams and stuff, but this is like my KEETZ patent pending mix checker in Ableton. I've got them hot queued to well, I changed it up now. Now I use 7, 8, 9. Before I used to use 4, 5, and 6 on my number pad, but in Ableton, if you hit Control K or maybe Command K, you can bring up a keyboard mapping thing. And then what I do is I hit 7, 8, and 9. And so then I have this rack on my mastering channel. So if the track's playing and I want to hear what the sub sounds like, This is the KEETZ Pissing Outside the Club EQ. It's just at 90 hertz, and you hear what your low end sounds like, and that's some good thumping low end. If your mix sounds as good as your master, why master? I'll explain that in a second. And then the other thing I have is a mono, and then a stereo only. But yeah, I put that on every track, and that helps me do my mix downs. And I think it's maybe I should throw it in my Discord for my Cool Kids table. That's a good idea. I'll do that right now. Oh, I'll do it after this. I'll make a note of it. But 1 second. Okay. So if your mix sounds as good as your master, why master? So a large thing about mastering is to just make sure mastering is kind of like that universal last check before you send your song to distribution. It's good to get in most cases, I mean, increasingly nowadays, people master their own stuff. And there is nothing wrong with just, bouncing this and calling it good. Other than the fact that it's not loud enough. Generally, what you do in your mastering, when you're mastering, that's when you make things loud. Mixing, in my opinion, or at least the way that I have been taught how to do it and learned over the years, is that when you're mixing, you're looking for transparency, keeping things clean, and not, having a clean, punchy mix. And I typically don't add a lot of color to my mixes. I know some people, when they mix, they prefer to mix into a compressor, or they mix into a saturator or something like that, or they'll mix into a clipper, they'll just put Pro L on their master and clip the shit out of it, or they'll just use Ableton's default built-in clipper that happens eventually when you clip Ableton hard enough. And all of that stuff is fine, but this is just how I learned it. Then what I do is I worry about making things loud in the master. I don't there is such a thing as mixing for loudness, and that is cutting away unneeded frequencies, doing that saturator trick where I showed earlier, in which just if I turn the saturator on and off, you can see what I mean? It's the saturator's adding a lot of harmonics to the sound already, and it's perceived loudness, I should say. I guess that's how it would make sense. There's a bunch of different mixing tips and tricks you can learn. A good thing I would Google is perceived loudness and tricks to do that. There's something called a Fletcher-Munson curve, which is our ears hear certain frequencies better than others, and so you can EQ those frequencies up or down to alter the perceived loudness. You can make something sound way louder than it actually is with those tricks, and that's what I do a lot of the time when I'm mixing, to still have that headroom for my mastering stuff, but then also just keeping things simple and punchy and sounding good and transparent, so that when I do master, I like to put my tracks through a bunch of UAD hardware emulations that make it sound, that adds that analog warmth, whatever you want to call it. But it does actually make a difference, I'm not going to lie. There is such a thing. Analog warmth is not a conspiracy. But okay, cool. I mean, this will be a tough video for me to edit, I think, because I ramble a lot, but I always do that. But anyway, I think, yeah, I mean, Bungie, I hope I answered your question. I hope I didn't just ramble. Yeah, I mean, I think, I guess that's about it. I mean, I think so. Shorter stream, cool. I'm glad the info helped. Yeah, shorter stream today. But we did do a 5-hour one last week, which was a hell of a lot of fun. I loved doing that. Thanks to Not Sure and Ash and Ocean Dark for giving us great sets. That was a lot of fun. Next week, I believe May 11th, is the Blight Remix contest is over. So I will be listening to those, and I'm really excited for that. That'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, the feedback stream and Blight remix contest ends with all the prizes and whatever. So hopefully if you have been working on the remix, you know, it's crunch time, because that's your homework is due next week. Bungie recording in the Discord? What do you mean? He's sending the stream to the Discord or something? I don't know what's going on. Oh, nice. Hell yeah. Oh, that's sick. Nice. I'm glad, because, you know, Twitch does do their DMCA strikes on music and stuff like that. So that's awesome. So you add the chat into Adobe Premiere. Does it still mute some of the songs? Oh, I still have to do feedback. Wait. Am I getting ahead of myself with the Discord stuff? I thought the remix contest was just blocked in Russia. Nice. I thought that the remix contest was okay. Maybe I am wrong. Oh, I see. We are on feedback stream time. Okay, that tripped me up. All right, gotcha. All right, cool. Yeah, I was just like, wait a second. Am I like way ahead of myself? Am I a month ahead? All right, cool. Well, nice. Okay, that's it, everyone. That's the Ozone production breakdown. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope you are enjoying the track. Thanks to Ocean Dark and everyone streaming, seriously. Yo, what's up, Koval? No, this isn't cases. Unfortunately. No case openings in this stream. Definitely not good enough at CS to I'm also not good enough at opening cases, apparently, to stream that. No, I'm not opening CS cases. Oh. Yeah, thanks, Bungie. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks, Ash, also. He should open 5. Yeah, just send me hey, if you want to fund my Steam wallet, I'll be more than happy to stream some cases. Robux card giveaway next week. Yeah, no, I'm not sponsoring the Robux card giveaway. That's funny. Oh, your account's unbanned? That's good. Nice. I can't believe, dude. I can't believe that time we matched 8 cases, absolute nothing. But that's how they get you. Well, all right, everyone. Yeah. So thanks for tuning in for this little quick stream. Ozone is out now. It's on Ocean's Dark. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Hope you like the music, and I've got more things that I'm working on for the rest of the year, more music and all that jazz. Maybe EP. Still kind of working around that. I've got the songs, but I'm trying to decide trying to figure that out. Yeah, save and listen to 1 million times. Help me afford the mid-rise apartment of my dreams. But all right, everyone. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, again, thank you very much. And I will see you guys next week for the Blight Remix Contest winner revelation, and listening to those, and the feedback stream next week. What do you know? Look at that. 3 KEETZ streams in 3 weeks. Who would have thought? That's like that's got to be a new record, because normally it's just once a month. Johnny, thanks for popping in here. Oh, see, look at this. The stream's over, and I'm getting like 10 viewers. All right. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, I guess. But all right. Peace out, everyone. I'll catch you guys next week, Thursday.